Let me know.
Yep.
Yeah. He's gonna copy paste. 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Advisory Plan Commission meeting for August 28th, 2025. First, I'd like to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. They moved it up here. Oh, there's another one. There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic.
One indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Director Miller, will you please call roll?
Yes. Travis Stern. Steve Fisher.
Here.
Mike Keenholz.
Here.
Jeff Meister. Amy Kopke. Here. Cy Devaney.
Here.
Levi Schrock. We have a quorum.
All right. First on the agenda that I have is Resolution 2025-03, order approving the RDC Declaratory Resolution and Economic Development Plan with a lot more to follow. Director Miller, I'll turn it over to you.
I'm actually going to defer to our counsel, Zach Nicely.
I can walk you through kind of the steps and then what we're doing here. And so this is a economic development area. It's actually amending the Webster commercial area that was established early in the 2000s. We're taking 50.64 acres out of that and creating a new economic development area and allocation area. It follows generally the same steps as the economic development areas that we've created before this board. It was first that preliminary approval from the town council. The RDC passed a declaratory resolution just this past Tuesday. It's now before you to make sure that it is within the town standards for development. It will then go to the town council again for approval. It actually has an extra step in this one. The Economic Development Council has to, or Economic Development Commission has to hold a public hearing. And then it will go again to the RDC for a public hearing. So again, this amends the Webster, creates a new development area, a new allocation area. The proceeds of this, or I'm sorry, that this will go into bonding right away. So what will happen there'll be a sale of $9.8 million in bonds, and we have Jacob Everett from that represents Satori here as well to talk about it a little bit. But the bonds will be issued by the town, bought by the developer, and paid by the TIF, the tax increment financing. So this will be at no cost to the town. All the risk is on the developer. Again, this is before you to approve to ensure that it meets town development standards. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can hand it over to Jacob and he can talk a little bit more about the project.
I'm happy to give you an overview of the project if you like.
Just one thing first here, I'm going to defer to our two subject matter experts in the room, director and legal counsel. I've read the document, but it is obviously a thick legal document. In your opinions, does this comply with the town standards?
Yes. From my reading of the document, this is supportive of a project that was approved by this body. That is the Satori rezoning located on the southeast corner of West Drive and State Road 47. That rezoning was also approved by the town council. So I believe it is consistent with the zoning as well as the comprehensive plan.
Okay. You concur?
I have nothing to add.
So when we make a motion, is it a favor? Do we say favorable motion or an approval?
Favorable, or either one really works. And then this again will be going to the town council next, for their approval.
Make a motion that we give a favorable recommendation to resolution 2025-03.
Second. Motion and a second. Is there any other discussion from the board? No. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes. That is the extent of the agenda that I have tonight.
It was well prepared. General discussion. I talked to Jennifer Miller today with my concerns with the online zoning map. I think we need to discuss. Has everybody been on this planning map, the zoning interactive map? Does anybody have any questions on it?
I've reviewed it. I sent Director Miller a couple of comments of some stuff that I thought might have been mislabeled that I found poking around myself.
And we had a lengthy conversation today, and I don't know where to honestly go with this at this point. So Center Point, right across the street from the high school, new subdivision. That is currently zoned as an R1. Which if you look at the town's definition, an R1 is a residential large lot district. And we really think that those are large lots. Because the Ringer property that surrounds the elementary school. That is currently zoned R2, which is small lot. So what size lots actually get smaller than Center Place? And I'm not saying anybody's at fault here, but this is out for the general population to look at. And if I'm a developer, I'm gonna look at this and I don't know the full definition of what a small lot is versus a large lot. It's in our UDO. I haven't got to that, but do we consider Center Point small or large lots? In our opinion right now.
Based on your zoning lot width,
What do we think? Look at that property. Do we think that's a small lot or a large lot?
I will defer to this body because I don't have an opinion on that. I can only tell you what the zoning has.
Oh, very small.
Okay, well, then that is labeled. So. I'm looking for recommendations on what to do here, or I'll defer to the president of this board, but. It's concerning. If you also look at the corner 38 and 6th Street, where 38 turns to go to Main Street. Everybody familiar with that rental property that had a fence in the front yard made of tarps? Right across the street from Fisher's Funeral Home. Everybody remember the house that had the tarp in the front yard? That is zone C1, commercial 1. According to this map. And the two houses west of that are C1. Does everybody know where Gene and Marilyn Leonard live? That's the White House directly west of Fisher's Funeral Home. And there are 2 or 3, correct me if I'm wrong, Vance, trailers just south of Gene's. Those are all zoned commercial 1, C1. According to the map, the interactive map. And that could be technically how it is in our books. I don't know. But in my opinion, we need to take this off of the internet for right now. And I'm not president of this, but I'll turn this over to you at this point. I'm very concerned with this.
I remember when we were doing the zoning code stuff a couple of years ago, this whole confusion over the order of R1, R2, R3 and how that cycled. So I'm not surprised that there's some lasting confusion that's come from that. I think that this is a great tool for us to use in the community and for us to provide to people, but it's not, I don't think it's a good idea if it's displaying inaccurate information. I think that puts us at risk.
Well, Maple Run and Sheridan Estates are all R2 according to this interactive map. And in my opinion, those are not large lots.
Yeah,
Well, no, yeah.
I imagine it ties back to something as to what R2 was at the time that those were passed, and we just haven't done the record keeping hasn't kept up with everything.
I want to correct myself. Maple Run and Sheridan Estates are zoned on this interactive map as R2, which is a small lot district. But Center Point is labeled R1, which is large lot.
Is there any defining legend where the lot sizes are defined?
It is in, but you gotta read. You gotta read like, it starts on page 78.
What is R1 defined as?
I haven't read all through that. I don't know unless Jennifer knows it, and I don't expect you to know that off the top of your head.
An R1 lot is an 80-foot lot width, and R2 lot is a 60-foot lot width.
Are there any houses in Center Point that are 80 foot? Or are they 80 foot?
I don't believe they are, but I can't say definitively.
So did they slip under the radar and build something that we zoned for?
Well, the zoning that might have been in place at the time is likely different than, because my guess is you approved the zoning, this body, not necessarily you, the individuals, approved that zoning prior to the 2023 ordinance. And at the time, it was likely met the conditions of an R1 zoning. At some point prior to 2023, I know there was a map introduced that had proposed some additional commercial, some changes to zoning on properties. I don't know if those changes were incorporated. I don't know if they were approved by the then council. I just don't have a history on this. This past summer, our intern started looking into and examining all the rezoning decisions that had been made by the Plan Commission and the council to affirm that we have the zoning correct on those parcels. And then at that point in time, once we were complete with that stage, her next stage, and she is still with us working remotely, she will now look at the properties that appear to have housing, for example, residential on them, but are zoned commercial, so that we can identify where this erroneous zoning is in the community, where it doesn't match the current use on the property. As I mentioned to Mr. Devaney this morning, changing zoning is not without controversy, especially when you're talking about downzoning properties from a high intense use to a lower intense use. My recommendation would be that we contact individual homeowners and make sure that we are doing that voluntarily if that's what this body elects to do. And that the property owners are on board with that zoning change. Additionally, I also want to point out that once our comprehensive plan is complete, we will at that time, and we are budgeting for it for next year, go through and revise our Unified Development Ordinance. I already know that there will be significant changes. For example, one of the issues we constantly run into with our downtown neighborhoods is setback issues. And it's because the setbacks that are defined in our ordinance are not consistent with the older subdivision platted lots that we have in downtown. So there needs to be a measure of flexibility added to the UDO to allow us to appropriately oversee zoning in those areas. So there is a whole slew of changes that will come after the comprehensive plan, in addition to just the policy changes from the comp plan, but also errors that we are finding as staff where the zoning code does not line up with what's actually happening in real life. At that time, it may be easier to address some of these other zoning changes that we're talking about this evening. I know that's probably not the expedient solution in dealing with this, but it is a logical and thoughtful solution to make sure we're not rushing ahead on anything.
Another example, Jansen's Vet Clinic. 236 on the Long Road, it is zoned R1. But the house to the east, that Vance reminds me of all the time, that looks like there's a mechanic working out of, it's zone C2. And it's a ranch home. So I just want clarification, are you saying that this interactive map is correct?
I'm saying, I don't know what the origin of that map
No.
is, so I can't tell you if it's correct or not.
Then my recommendation is we take that down. That cannot be correct. It just can't.
I think that if we can't vouch for the origin of the map, it shouldn't be up on our official website as the official map. I mean, as somebody who works in commercial real estate, I use tools like this all the time. And if it's rely on what information in there is to be accurate. So I don't think that we're doing anybody any service by having information that we know is questionable at best, out for public consumption. Any other thoughts from anybody else on the board?
I agree.
How hard would
I
it
mean,
be?
I love this interactive map. I really do. I think it's a great tool. And it's just, I'm afraid a developer's gonna come in, hit all the criteria of our UDO and say, I wanna put whatever here, and this body legally can't stop it, even though that's not what we all thought should be the correct zone. I think it goes back to getting a gas station approved over by the nursing home on State Road 47 that we didn't want, and we kind of got hornswoggled due to a technicality.
How hard would it be to ask Banning to verify this? Is that an expensive operation to overhaul this, or?
I think, I can't answer the question as to what it might cost for Banning, but
Is it even their function?
As your staff person, I would prefer that they not.
I don't think it's their.
We're the holder of the records in the office, and so it really does fall to our department to make sure that's accurate.
I agree. I just see Banning's name on here. It looks like they're the ones who built this. I'm just not sure what records they use, so. Yeah, if there's no downside of taking it down and fixing this a different way, that's fine.
I think that it might be expensive to fix, but I think that the consequences of it being up and providing bad information could be more expensive.
Well, and that then leads me to my next question. Okay, it's not out for public consumption, but it has been. So we need to consider a moratorium until this is fixed. I'm not saying vote on this tonight, but I think I would just see us getting development that we can't stop, that we don't want. And I'm not saying I'm against development at all, but this opens Pandora's box type of free for all.
Say something on that, thing, look at a white one. We had a big discussion 2 or 3 different meetings when that lady came to propose that subdivision. And we turned it down the first time. She came back the second time, and she had more houses and more lots than we had the first time, and we approved it. And if she hadn't caught that, if she didn't get that over and on, she built houses with an R2 thinking, because she put more houses in there than what she asked for.
So in the world of plan,
Mm-hmm.
which you were going here is what. How do most municipalities rate their zoning for residentials? R1 is small, R2 big, R3 bigger? Is there a standard formula on how most municipalities?
Yes, there is. But it's not, the lot width, the basis, the lot width is not necessarily, or the lot area, which is also another method of measurement, is not necessarily consistent. So it's not like R2 is the same in Sheridan as it is in Westfield.
Just, you go to J.C. Penney, you go to it's all. So that.
Generally, yes.
So typically smaller, R2 gets a little bigger, R3 gets bigger, or is it reverse?
I would say it's generally reverse. Usually your smallest number is, that's been what I have experienced. Is that what your larger numbers are your larger lot widths?
Okay, so the smaller the number, usually the smaller the lot size.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when Corey Meyer was doing the original UDO, we were opposite of what everyone else in the state uses. And she was trying to align that with how the rest of the state defines their residential zones. I think in that process, she flipped the numbers, but we didn't actually complete the task. Does that make sense? Didn't pull it all the way through. Yeah, I think the numbers got reversed, but the definition didn't get changed or something in the works. Because it was kind of not a good experience going through that UDO process with her, whether it was her or not, it didn't go well. And I kind of relate this back to Bud Wright football. Anybody that played football, your backfield has certain numbers. Quarterback's 1, running back's 2, the other halfback's 3. Bud always had the quarterback as number 2. Everyone else in the state is number 1. And I think that's what's happened here. She tried to make it like the rest of the state and something got missed.
We just didn't get it all the way through. I am unclear on the authority that we possess here, but from a practical perspective, I would say that the map should come down from a liability perspective for the town. And I think that there's a larger discussion that we would need to undertake with Director Miller and our attorneys about what, if we wanted to take further steps to protect ourselves, what that would look like. Do we have the authority, Mr. Attorney, do we have the authority to order the town take the map off of the website? Or
We can do that. That doesn't
I hate it.
require formal action. We can take the zoning map down, and I'm sorry, the reason why I was distracted is because I was checking a couple of our neighboring communities' zoning ordinances real quick, just to make sure that I told you correctly, because I have had a break from planning. I want to reverse my statement. In most instances, the smaller number is the larger lot area. So an R1 would be the largest, whereas, for example, an R5 might be the smallest.
Sure.
So I apologize for that.
Find correctly.
We do.
But I don't
We
think the
do.
map in our current zoning has them correct.
Well, again, keep in mind, I think there were map changes made without going through the appropriate process. And that's what needs to be corrected.
Well, I think that getting it off of public consumption is step number one. That way, that rids us of that risk associated with the bad info being out there, and then we can take further discussion and steps as we need to. Thank you for your help with that. Any other discussion? Motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, I did. I already shut it off. It's a process. It'll take a while to boot back up if you want it.
One of the houses.